that we are recorded. My name's Granite. Thanks for dropping your name and where you're from in the chat. It's a nice cross-country group and international. Abdullah is going to open up the meeting or the training with a prayer.
Thank you, Granite. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Nashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, wa nashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. All praises due to Allah, and we send peace and blessings on his messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So happy that everyone's here with us. Right back to you, Granite.
Thanks, Abdullah. So I'm just going to say a few words to get us started before we get you all on Mastodon. Basically, Elon Musk doesn't want us to be free. More than ever, Twitter is a place where hate speech and disinformation flourish, and a place that harms people we care about. Today, we aren't here to sell you Mastodon, but to offer you the opportunity to give it a try with us. We're here to explore the opportunities for organizing on a decentralized platform that isn't run by a billionaire or a corporation. My colleagues, Abdullah and Sarah, have been working really hard on creating this training that we hope you'll share with your colleagues. And I'm going to introduce you to Sarah, who's going to get us started. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Begg. I'm Empower's content producer and digital campaigner. And I'll pass it on to Abdullah to introduce himself, and then we'll get started.
Hi, everyone. My name is Abdullah. I'm Empower Change's field organizer on the organizing team. And once again, really happy to be here with everyone.
Thanks, everyone. So this is our contact information that we'll share again towards the end, because you can feel free to contact or connect with Abdullah and I afterwards. But for now, we're just going to take you through the agenda before we start. So I'll pass it up to Abdullah again.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah. So our agenda today is pretty packed, but we're going to be going through in a very organized way. And we want to make sure that everyone is with us as we go through the different steps on understanding what Mastodon is and some of the best practices. So to start, we're going to do exactly that. We're going to talk about what is Mastodon and learn a little bit more about the platform itself. Next, we're going to jump into why should everyone here join Mastodon. Then we're going to learn how to create a Mastodon account here with us today on this call in real time, just so you don't have to go after this call and figure it out on your own. Next, we're going to figure out how we could connect with others on Mastodon. We know that it's still something a little bit new for many of the folks. And so we want to figure out who else is on Mastodon and how to connect with people on it. Next, we're going to get into an important piece on how we can organize on Mastodon and how we could use it to the best of our abilities in some of our campaigns and things that we are working on in our different communities and our organization. And then finally, we're going to jump right into next steps, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Abdullah. So first and foremost, we're just going to talk a little bit about what is Mastodon. So Mastodon is a free, open source, decentralized social media platform. When I say decentralized, this means that it's not owned by a single company or billionaire in comparison to Twitter. And anyone can make their own version of Mastodon called an instance, which I'm going to get into the next slide. So an instance is like a server in comparison to possibly Discord. So it's where a bunch of people with similar ideas, shared values can create kind of communities, right? So instead of calling it a server, we're going to call them instances. And also, Mastodon, on the next slide, you'll see when you usually sign up to Mastodon, Shark, if you could, thank you so much. If you see on these list of servers, you'll see that these are not all servers or instances that are on Mastodon, but these are ones that have been manually approved because they follow Mastodon's community guidelines. We foresee that Empower Change's instance that we'll get into in a little bit would be on this list in the near future. However, moving forward, when we talk about an instance, right, we're trying to create a community of Muslim organizers and allies to come together to be able to have conversations, campaign with one another, share ideas, get people to sign petitions and show up for events and things like that. So based on this call, majority of you don't have actually a Mastodon account, because when you signed up, we asked if you did have one. However, if you do have a Mastodon account, no worries. You can totally migrate from your old account to a new one, to a new one under our server, our instance. And in order to enter our instance, you have to be invited. So we're going to provide you with a link to do that. Also, this Google Doc here, you guys should have access to. As a reminder, we will share these slides with you after the call. But however, if you already have an old account that you want to migrate under our account, you can totally do so later on. So if you go on to the next slide, we're gonna be able to, oh, sorry, we'll hold on, but we're gonna be able to send you a link up to how you can enter our instance. But before we do that, I guess we're gonna try a little convincing and why you should join our instance. Why is it important? So I'm gonna hand that to Abdullah.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah. So everyone's getting some idea on what Mastodon is, but really let's get into why you should really join Empower's instance in specific. And Sarah mentioned that an instance is like a server. And so the first one is really to connect directly with fellow Muslim organizers. We know how hard it is for organizers across the country to connect with each other, especially when working on similar campaigns, but it's even harder sometimes within our communities to get connected with each other. So whether we're working on specific campaigns that we're going to be talking about, like Eid for All or Iftar in the Streets, a lot of the Empower's campaigns, and so many of your amazing campaigns, it's really important that we're able to connect directly with each other. And that's exactly what we're going to be offering through Empower's instance. Second is getting involved with campaigns for justice before they get started. So we know that the fight for justice isn't just something that happens once a year, twice a year, or every month, but it's something that's ongoing. We're always looking for different opportunities as a community, as a faith-based group, to be looking for opportunities to support those that are facing any form of injustice. And so this is a great opportunity to get involved with campaigns like that. Next is really getting in early on defining what Mastodon is and how it functions, because we know that Mastodon right now is growing more and more. Twitter is declining. People are leaving the platform rapidly. And so it's important for us to really not only get on this, but also see the different ways that we could use this platform before it blows up and everyone is using it. And so this training is really important, and it's actually one of the first steps in ensuring that everyone knows how to use this platform to benefit their communities and our community as a large. Next is also, we want to make this a welcoming and inclusive space. And in the next slide, I'm really going to be talking about the different comparisons between Mastodon versus Twitter. So if we hop into that next slide, we can see Empower on Mastodon versus on Twitter. And this point is really important, because you could be asking yourself the question on, why can't I just be doing everything that you guys are saying that we're going to be doing on Mastodon currently right now in Twitter? And the first one, and Sarah and Granite actually touched upon this a little bit, it's a decentralized space, which means it's protected by us, versus it's privately owned and it's unprotected, owned by a billionaire, for example. And we know that in the last few months, there's been numerous layoffs. So many people are leaving the platform. And so it's important for us to get ahead of this right now by joining Mastodon and then having our own space in that way. Next, it's a free platform, and this is perfect for our communities. We're able to get as many of us on as possible, but also do it in a very organized way, which is what we're doing right now with the Empower instance and server. And we won't have to worry about paying for verification, since it's not owned by a corporation or a billionaire, as we mentioned. Next, we don't have to fear censorship. And this is really big within our movements, is that there's always constant attempts to suppress our movements, whether we're talking about Palestine, whether we're talking about Myanmar, whether it's internationally or nationally. Whenever we're trying to make a movement that's really creating a lot of movement and creating a lot of noise, we see that we're always hammered down by a lot of censorship. And this happened a lot in the past, specifically with Twitter. We we don't have to worry about that on Mastodon since it's our space. And so this is a huge plus for our community since we're always on the fight against injustices. And we know that the fight against injustices is usually not free and is always targeted by people that want to censor us. And so Mastodon is really one of our biggest allies in doing exactly that. And so now that we got that piece covered on why you should be joining Mastodon, let's jump right back into how you guys could join. Passing it right back to Sarah.
I'm on mute. Thank you so much, Abdullah, for that. So first and foremost, we're going to have Benita, our wonderful operations manager, drop some links in the chat for y'all. Also, as a quick reminder, feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A portion. We'll try to answer them while the training. If not, definitely get to them at the end of the training when we save it for the Q&A session. However, Benita, if you could please drop this link into the chat. So this is basically your special link or link to register for our own Mastodon server. So once you guys get on there, I would love it if you could let me know in the webinar chat that you guys are there so we can move on, because we really want to take you step by step on creating an account today. So I'll give you guys a minute or two to, just let me know you've got on there. And when you do, your page should look like the following. Yeah, thank you so much. So your page should pretty much look like this. As soon as you click on the link or you visit the link. So now when we move on, you're going to see that you have to enter your display name, username, email, and password. So we decided that we wanted this to be similar to how we are portrayed on other platforms, Empower. So we made it similar to our Twitter. So we decided to use our display name to look like our Twitter name as well as our username. So if you hit the next slide, you'll be able to see that we decided to use our display name and username as Empower Change. And, you include your email address, password. So for example, my own display name and username is Sarah Amelia Beg. And Abdullah is Abdullah Keel. So it's up to you how you use it. And once you sign up, you should receive an email. And afterwards, we'll take you from there what you're gonna see. So feel free to let us if you have any questions during this part. If not, we can continue. So I'll give you guys like a minute or two to see if you have any questions pertaining on signing up. Again, feel free to drop any questions in the Q&A portion. And if not, then we'll just continue. So on the next slide, when you have logged into your own Mastodon account, it's okay if this is completely empty. That's because you're not following anyone just yet, but this is going to be the basic way that your screen should look like, right? However, we want to emphasize your screen and we want you to make the best of Mastodon. So what we're going to do is enable something called web interface. This is something really similar to Twitter Deck. Well, you'll be able to see multiple timelines, as well as a list or hashtags that you follow. So in order to do this, we're gonna go to your home page, right there. We're gonna hit the preference button that's on the lower right hand. After that, you're gonna be able to see the screen that says appearance, right? And because you already put preferences, you should already see the appearance button tab. And next to where you see this yellow arrow, it's gonna say enable web interface. So you're gonna make sure that's checked off. And as soon as it is, you're just gonna hit save changes. And this is how your Mastodon should look like now. You should be able to see about four sections. And the main things to learn, especially as a beginner, are your timelines. So you're going to have a local timeline, a federated timeline, and home. So home is going to show you chronological posts from people and hashtags you follow. Of course, you might not see anything right now because you're probably not following anyone, and vice versa. And then your federated timeline is going to show you the most recent post from servers that your server knows about. So basically your mutuals, right? This is a federated timeline. And then your local timeline is going to show you posts from people within your server. So for example, I, as Sarah, am on Empowered Changes server, and I follow Abdullah. So I'm going to see Abdullah's posts, but maybe I don't follow Granite, our campaign director, but Abdullah does. So I will be able to see her content in the federated timeline. Again, please feel free to ask your questions. Moving on. Oh, sorry, guys. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let us know. If not, I'll give you guys a minute or so. We could move on. So now that we've got you on Mastodon, what we're going to do is provide you with some helpful tools. These tools are going to be able to help you use Mastodon to the best of your ability, right? So of course, when you enter Mastodon, the first thing might be, how do I find people that I know that I would like to follow? So this one is quite easy. Of course, these are steps that you might not have time to take right now, that you may want to take later. And as a reminder, we'll send you these slides with all these steps. But there's something called Fedi Finder. And when you visit Fedi Finder, you'll be able to see all the people you follow on Twitter and see if they are also on Mastodon. So again, this is a third-party application that you're going to have to allow it to authorize between your Twitter and your Mastodon. So if you're okay with that, you would visit Fedi Finder, which I'm sure Benita will add the links in the chat. Thank you so much, Benita. And you're going to hit authorize Twitter, right? And after you do so, it's going to take you to your Twitter, and you're just going to agree to the third party. So if you see it on the next slide here, you'll be able to see that you're going to authorize the app, right? After you do so, you're going to scroll all the way down to step 4, which is to export your network. So you're going to get a spreadsheet. And once you click on export CSV, you're going to get this spreadsheet of a bunch of people who you follow. And now if it says show boost true, that means that this follower, this organization has a Mastodon account. And to the left, you're going to see account address. And all you would have to do is copy and paste those to Mastodon to find them. Unfortunately, you cannot do a bulk import. So you're going to have to one by one copy and paste it into Mastodon to then hit follow, right? So maybe I want to follow Unicorn Riot. So I would have to copy and paste that into the search bar. And then I would have to hit the follow button if you see it on the next page here. Oh, sorry. If you you would have to hit the follow button here, which is the little person with the plus sign, and you would hit that, and then you would add them. If you guys have any questions about that application, so that's one way that you can find people who you're following on Twitter to see if they are on Mastodon. Another helpful tool to find basically mutuals, people who you follow, who they're following, is using follow graph. So this tool allows you to expand your connection, right? And find people that, for example, maybe I follow Abdullah, I want to see who Abdullah's following, right? Again, this is a third-party source, so you would have to allow them to, connect with your Twitter and Mastodon. And as soon as you hit use now, you would input your Mastodon handle, which in our case is at empoweredchange@muslimorganized.masto.host. Or another example would be my name, which would be at Sarah Amelia Beg at muslimsorganized.master.host. Then after you've pasted that in, you're going to hit search. And now it's going to give you a list of different contacts and who they follow. For example, 22 people, 22 of Empower's contacts follow ProPublica. So you can search through this list. And then once you search through this list, maybe you find an account you want to follow. So for example, on the next slide, you'll see that Mastodon themselves has an official account. So I see that a number of people I follow also follow Mastodon. So I'm going to hit follow. However, again, this is going to be manual. There's no bulk input, unfortunately. So once you hit follow, follow graph is going to actually take you to the Mastodon web page. So now that you're at the Mastodon web page, it's going to open the follower you're trying to follow, and you're going to hit follow. Again, this is very much tedious work. It's not hard, but it is tedious. But these are some of the limitations to Mastodon, right? It's not like Twitter. It's not. It doesn't have capacity to handle these mass impulse, these bulks, these spreadsheets. So these are some things that are going to take some time to build a kind of community. If you move forward, if anyone has questions or concerns about this, feel free to let me know. I do see if we do a lot, sorry, someone did ask if they do a lot of work with allies, is it easy to create something similar to Muslims Organize? Yeah, so it is easy to create something similar in a sense of if you wanted to create your own instance. However, there are many instances, and the point of this instance, right, is to organize Muslims, Muslim organizers, and allies. So for example, we may be partnering with people like, for example, Ultraviolet, which is a woman empowerment organization. And even though they're not Muslim led, we may be organizing with them because they can help us with Muslim women campaigns. So usually Mastodon has advised that you don't join too many instances, or you keep a community of instances quite small. So in this case, we're hoping to have about 100 organizers or individuals within our community so that we can moderate it. We empower change, meaning we'll moderate it, and we can connect with one another, right? So we'll be able to connect with organizations or individuals you probably have always wanted to connect with, but haven't had the opportunity, or had no idea certain individuals or organizations existed, and see that there are great ways to collaborate. So within our instance, we can empower, can change, can allow or deny, and make sure that whatever we talk about is between us, and other outsiders won't be able to see that, who is not in our instance or in our server. I hope that answers your question. Again, feel free to submit your questions here in the chat. So moving forward, when you're a beginner, and especially like as someone like me who is a content producer and I do social media as my job, there are many platforms that I have to be on all the time, right? So we have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, now Mastodon, right? So there's something interesting about a Mastodon Twitter cross poster. I see a lot of people use this. I'm personally not a fan of it because I do feel that Mastodon is a platform for conversation, not necessarily to write something short and sweet to get likes, in comparison to Twitter that has 280 characters, super short, really just saying something, whereas Mastodon allows you up to 500 characters. So I like to cultivate and put out content on our Mastodon that's going to be different from our Twitter base, right? And when you tweet on Twitter, when you're going to tweet, right? Whereas on Mastodon, you're going to toot, T-O-O-T. So if you want to cross post, meaning that whatever you post on Twitter will also go to Mastodon, you can visit this website that Benita will put the link in the chat. You can copy and paste your ID. For example, in our case, it's empoweredchange@muslimsorganize.master.host. Again, it's a third-party application. So if you're okay with that, you're just gonna hit okay. And once you do that, you're going to allow authorization and you're going to hit authorize. Afterwards, this is where you can go through all these on your own time and see if you want to enable cross posting, if you only want to cross post from Twitter to Mastodon or vice versa. So the only thing here is if you post something on Mastodon or toot something on Mastodon and you want to send it out as a tweet as well, you can set it up here via this application. However, you need to make sure that that toot does not exceed 280 characters, because if it does, the toot will not become a tweet. However, any tweet can become a toot. Moving on. If you have any questions about this application, feel free to let me know. If not, we're going to move on to how to DM people. So this is where, you can connect with a lot of other organizations individually, or how journalists really communicate on Twitter. So in order to DM someone, you basically put in their handle, right, which is going to start with an @sign. So in this case, I want to message Abdullah. So I'm going to @Abdullah. And so some people you can direct message, some you can't. It honestly depends on their own privacy settings. In this case, because Abdullah and I are on the same instance, we can and we follow each other, we can message one another. Maybe you don't follow each other, but you're on the same instance, so you can message them. So once you do that, you're going to look up their name in the search bar. You're going to go to those three little dots, those three little vertical dots, and then you're going to put direct message to Abdullah. After that, it's going to look like you're making a post or a toot, but this is completely a private message. So it's going to automatically say @Abdullah, Akil, or whatever your whoever your tooting is. And I wrote hey, and I tooted, right, or I published that. And it's going to look like, wow, it's on my home timeline. You're going to think that you just said hey everyone knows you said hey to Abdullah, where this is not the case. This is a private messaging, but there's no separate DM space for that. So it's going to show up on your home timeline. And because it's on the home timeline, it's going to be flooded with other content. So for example, there is a content that's blurred right now, but that is what was posted before Abdullah could even message me back. So it's kind of messy in that sense, but there is options to DM. Moving forward, does anyone have any questions about that? I see a Q&A. Are there plans to make a Mastodon interface with Instagram or Facebook? Unfortunately, I don't know at this time. I do know some places, some applications like social media management tools are supporting Mastodon. I believe it starts with a B. If anyone can help me out, it's a social media management tool. Starts with a B, but I cannot remember it. That does support toots and Mastodon as well. Oh, it's called Buffer. Buffer supports Mastodon toots as well as scheduling. However, I don't know at this time if Facebook and Instagram are collaborating with Mastodon at this time. I know Mastodon is collaborating with Discord because they believe in this kind of Fediverse internet for everyone, not owned by a single billionaire or millionaire. So I think if anything, they're probably going to team more up with individual organizations that have more of a free for all than these that are very overtly moderated. Any more questions or concerns? If not, I just wanted to share with y'all that you can download Mastodon to your phone or to your iPad, tablet, and if you have a Samsung or an Android, you can also download it. It's going to basically look the same whether you're on the laptop, a desktop, or a phone. So just wanted to let y'all know that you can actually download those to your devices. In addition, if we go to the next page, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass it up to Abdullah again so he can get more into your organizing efforts, as I was here just to help with you guys getting onto Mastodon. So go ahead, Abdullah.
Cool. Perfect, Sarah. Thank you for that. And so we have the big question is, how can we now use Mastodon to organize our communities? And so we briefly talked about this in the beginning, but let's jump right into it in the next few slides. The first, and I mentioned this earlier, it's our space, which means our rules. We don't have to fear censorship. We don't have to fear rules that are unfair to our communities and other minority communities. And then next, we want to connect and network with organizers, especially in our space. We know how important it is to learn from each other, learn from best practices, and even learn from when new things are happening. And so Empower is now joining Mastodon, but we're also encouraging other organizations to come on and join this effort with us. And then we also want to look at supporting campaigns and initiatives. Since there's always something new that's going on within our communities and our organizations, we want to make sure that everyone's in the know about it, but everyone also knows that we can support one another through using Mastodon. And then finally, and we always use this when we're talking in the Empower sense, and if you've been to our webinars, you always hear this, is we want to grow a Muslim power block. We know how important it is for our communities to be connected, and we're going to get into that in the next few slides. But we know that building a Muslim power block comes with our numbers. And so it comes right into successful campaigns are backed by connected organizers. And you could look at any campaign, whether it's a Muslim-run campaign or a non-Muslim-run campaign. Connected organizers are what make any campaign successful. And so if we take a look at National Muslim Voter Registration Day, or NMVRD, and the My Muslim Vote campaign, specifically with Empower, we see that Empower mobilized organizations nationwide to take part in a single day of action, where we're encouraging people to register to vote, to check their voter registration status, to find out where their nearest polling locations are. And so you'll see that people all across the country were taking part of this. In that first picture, we see a young boy from Staten Island, people in Georgia, followed by North Carolina, and so many different cities across the country were taking part of this campaign. But imagine if these organizers are connected, but are learning from best practices from one another, are knowing what other organizers are working on anywhere across the country, without fearing that the campaign might eventually just get shut down by Twitter or by a larger platform or corporation, but they know that they're in a safe space while doing all of that. And so that's exactly what this instance that we're talking about here is today. And so specifically a campaign that we're actually working on, we just had our Eid for All webinar, going right back to successful campaigns backed by connected organizers. We just launched our campaign, which is Eid for All. We're trying to ensure that every single school all across the country adds Eid as a recognized holiday within their calendars. And that looks like having the day off for Eid. Others are making sure that no tests are being taken on the day of Eid for students. And so generally we're pushing that no student should be picking between attending Eid with their family and participating in this religious holiday versus going to school. So this is a quick plug for anyone that's interested in getting involved with their organizations. You could actually go to bit.ly/Eid for All, and that's a quick interest form, but that's exactly one of the campaigns that we're talking about. If you look at the left picture, that's actually a tweet that went out on Mastodon by Empower, and it's talking about the Eid for All campaign. So this is just one example on how you guys could actually get involved with some of Empower's campaigns, but also larger campaigns for other organizers. And so we encourage everyone, that anyone that's interested, to get involved with the Eid for All campaign, but also anyone that's interested to also just jump right on to Mastodon and specifically this instance. And then the next slide is a really important piece that we really want to touch upon before we close off, is we want to focus on the not if, but how, where we aren't attempting to see if Mastodon can support our organizational priorities, but how. And as many and more of us join and bring others on, Mastodon will be used as an organizing space, but also as a learning one. So everyone here today is learning from one another. I am learning from Sarah as Sarah is going through what Mastodon is. People are learning about how to use this platform to organize. And we want to make sure that we use Mastodon exactly for that, that we're learning from one another within this amazing organizing space, and we're able to grow from one another and grow each other's campaigns. And so with that, we want to jump right into Q&A and open the floor for anyone that has any questions. Our contact information is right on the bottom. And so let's open the floor.
So thank you so much, Abdullah. I actually do see a question here that says, can you comment on security features? Yeah, sure. So actually, when we created our own instance, we do pay for some kind of way to maintain it. Empower Change, the digital team consisting of me and other people, we're here to monitor the actual instance. So if I am the one who emits people within the instance, usually it's kind of like if you have a private Twitter and you want to allow someone in, right? So this would be a great chance that if any of you were able to create a Mastodon account while on this webinar, to just drop your username so we can add you guys. Another thing is that if you had saw when we could direct message, the messages are not encrypted, so you wouldn't put necessarily any kind of sensitive, very, very sensitive information there. However, because in instance we have made it private and I can admit or take out people from that community, that allows us to kind of avoid trolls that maybe you would see on Twitter. And you'll be able to know that the people who are there have been, curated to be a part of this, that we believe follow our Mastodon and our own kind of community guidelines. Obviously, if it comes to a point where we see that someone or an organization, and usually it's an individual, isn't up to par with our own goals and expectations of the community we are trying to build, which is, opening, inclusive, respectful, then we as Empowered Change can remove that person within, our kind of daily maintenance of Mastodon. So I hope that answers your questions. Also, I see another one that says, will you be sending the recording to everyone? Yes, we will. Everyone will get this recording after the call. Thank you so much. So we see that you were able to drop your Mastodon account. We really appreciate it. Thank you. It's at Islamic Networks Group at muslimsorganized.masto.host. Please feel free to let us know any further questions or concerns you have. We're here till 3, so we wanted to give ample of time for you guys to answer your questions. So just let us know if you have questions for me or for Abdullah, feel free to drop them in. Abdullah, if you want to say anything.
No, I think it's just really exciting, and so happy that folks are coming onto the platform, especially since we're going to be using this platform a lot and we're already using it now. And so the more and more folks come on, the more beneficial the platform is for everyone. And so I'd encourage everyone once again to come onto the platform, encourage your colleagues, your organizations to come on it as well. And let's build a space for our communities to learn and grow from one another.
Yeah, and if you're new to Mastodon and you want to start to connect with people, again, feel free to connect with Abdullah and I believe we both have private accounts. I know I do, so I will admit you. So it's either Sarah Amelia Beg and Muslims Organized, that master.host, and then for Abdullah, if you want to go ahead and say, because I know sometimes I butcher your last name, I'm very sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. My Mastodon username, which is also right there, it's Abdullah at muslimsorganized.masto.host. And so both are right there if you guys want to go check out our pages from right now, and also follow Empower's page, which is at the top right corner.
I'm wondering if people could share like things that they're working on in the chat also, just to take this opportunity, people who are at the webinar, if you want to, because we've shared what we're working on and what we're moving forward with.
So while people are dropping that, I'm an Empower staffer, and I have a question for both Sarah and Abdullah. So for the instance, the Muslims.organized, can people that are not on Mastodon, can they easily view that? Is that like a publicly visible server? And is that something that we have an option to toggle as well?
So at this time, no, because when I earlier had explained that there was a list of servers that have been pre-approved by Mastodon that are kind of like advertised there for you to join. So at this time, in order to join our instance, you would need that link that I provided in the beginning. However, we are a U.S. Muslim organizing base, so we hope to grow, over time. and hopefully to be on that, to show Mastodon that, you know, we follow their community guidelines. We are a community looking for Muslims and allies to advocate for different social, economic, you know, justice and issues. However, at this time, you know, in order to actually enroll, you have to have the link that was provided. Otherwise, it would be very hard for someone to actually find us on Mastodon if they don't know our username, nor have a link to sign up with us.
Got it. Thank you for clarifying that.
I think we can, if there's no more questions, we could wrap up early, huh?
By the way, I'm on our Mastodon right now, and I can see that a bunch of you have requested to follow us. So I'll be doing that in the next, you know, few hours, accepting guys. Thank you so much for everyone who signed up and following back. So hopefully we can, you know, continue to build this community.
Abdullah, do you want to take us out with a prayer and then we'll wrap it up?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you everyone for coming on. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Assalamu alaikum everyone.